Hello, I'm Alan, and welcome to today's edition of Alan's Cycling Adventures. It is week 3 of my cross-country training plan. Just like last week, the mileage didn't increase this week, so I am going for, or attempting, a 70-mile training ride. I say attempting because I feel like I jinxed myself last week by saying I was going to do a 70-mile training ride, and then my water froze. I do have a new insulated Camelbak bladder and drinking tube, so I'm testing that out today. However, most of the ride is going to be above freezing, so it's not going to be a great test, but we'll see how it goes. It's got a cover on it, so I have to get used to flipping the cover off and putting the cover back on when I'm done drinking. Anyway, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or ideas for future editions of Alan's Cycling Adventures, be sure to leave them in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoy the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. Well, without further ado, let's ride. This ride was completed on Sunday, January 14th. And before I talk about such things as the weather, the statistics, or where I rode, I just want to start off by saying that this route was planned on Strava as opposed to the routes that I had planned previously on Garmin Connect. And if you remember long ride number 1, where I was along the highway for a long period of time, this route was much better. This was really a great route because for a good part of the middle of the route, I was on protected bike paths, which was a much better experience than riding along Route 17, that's for sure. In any event, in terms of the weather, at the start, the sky was clear, temperature was 30 degrees Fahrenheit, with a feels-like temperature of 21 degrees Fahrenheit. The humidity was 69%, and the wind was 8.6 miles per hour from the southwest. By the end of the ride, the weather was very different. I rode through snow and snow showers, and by the end, the wind was about 20 miles per hour from the southwest. And of course, at that point, I was predominantly heading southwest, so I was heading into a brutal headwind. In terms of the length of the ride, it was 70.55 miles. And I had an average moving speed of 13.8 miles per hour with a maximum speed of 32.4 miles per hour. Now, don't judge me on that average speed of 13.8 because the next to last 10 miles were really hard and the last 10 miles were brutal. So brutal that at one point, I was considering stopping and calling Teresa and asking her to come pick me up. I'm glad I didn't because I feel like I really accomplished something by finishing this ride. Anyway, getting back to the statistics, the total moving time was 5 hours, 7 minutes, 28 seconds, with an elapsed time of 5 hours, 55 minutes, and 57 seconds. My average heart rate was 124 beats per minute with a maximum heart rate of 150. According to Garmin Connect, I burned a total of 1,758 calories. My average cadence was 66 RPM with a max cadence of 91 RPM and a total elevation gain of 2,740 feet. By the way, this path that I'm on here is actually over the Tappan Zee Bridge. I will go over where I went next. The route was split between New Jersey and New York. I started out in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, and headed northeast into Paramus, and then Westwood, Harrington Park, Norwood, North Vale. Then I crossed into New York to Tappan, Spark Hill, Piermont. And then I turned northward and rode up the Hudson River through Grandview on Hudson, South Nyack, at which point I crossed the Tappan Zee Bridge, which is now called the Governor Mario Cuomo Bridge. And once I was across the bridge, I went through Tarrytown, Sleepy Hollow, Pocantico Hills, at which point I was on a bike path along the Sawmill River Parkway into Hawthorne and past Pace University in Pleasantville, into Briarcliff Manor, Millwood, where I turned around, and then back through Briarcliff Manor and past Pace University again in Pleasantville, Hawthorne, Pocantico Hills, Sleepy Hollow, Tarrytown. Then I went back across the Tappan Zee Bridge into South Nyack, heading south through Grandview on Hudson, Piermont, Spark Hill, Tappan. Then I crossed into New Jersey to Old Tappan, Hillsdale, the Township of Washington, Paramus, and back into Fairlawn. From the time that I got to the Tappan Zee Bridge, and then a short time after I got off the Tappan Zee Bridge, I found myself back on a protected bike path, which was, as I said, a very nice experience, all the way to the turnaround point, and then almost all the way back to the Tappan Zee Bridge. Now, one thing that was funny was when I went across the Tappan Zee Bridge on the way out, I noticed that it is a long, gradual uphill almost the entire length of the bridge. At the very end, there is a downhill portion, but most of it going east is uphill. And as I was going across, and you feel the uphill, even though it's not very steep, I kept thinking to myself, man, this is going to be really fun on the way home. Well, by the time I got back to the Tappan Zee Bridge, the wind had picked up considerably, to the point where it didn't even feel like I was going downhill once I got over the crest of the bridge. By the way, at this point in the video, you can see that I am going across the Tappan Zee Bridge. Here I am going over the crest, and from here on out, it is a long, steady downhill. But as I said, I was going into a headwind, and so it certainly did not feel like I was going downhill. The other funny observation was when I got to the Tappan Zee Bridge on the way home, I kind of had to use the bathroom, but not that badly. And as you enter the bridge, there's like a sort of welcome area or something like that. And inside the building, they have bathrooms. And I thought about going in and using the bathroom, and I didn't want to because I didn't want to leave my bike unattended either outside the pavilion or inside the pavilion. And so I figured, it's too high traffic here. I'll just wait until I get across to New Jersey and I'll find some place to use the bathroom. And of course I didn't. And at one point I got to a rest stop and thought, man, I really should have used the bathroom when I had the chance. And I, did what I had to do in terms of having a gel. And I think it was a spot where I changed my battery and started riding again. And probably within a mile, I spotted a porta potty on the side of the road, pulled over, used it, and was back on my way. Anyway, as I continued south, the weather started to deteriorate. You'll see that in a little bit in the video. I did ride through some fairly serious snowfall, definitely serious wind, and started getting tired, and then eventually got to the point, as I said earlier, where my legs had just about had it. As a matter of fact, with just a few miles to go, after I had decided that I was not going to call Teresa, that I was going to finish the ride, I had just about nothing left in the tank thanks to that wind. And I had a couple of extra gels. By the way, here you can see the snowfall, and it's starting to collect and melt on the camera lens. Anyway, I had just about nothing left, and I had a couple of gels on me because I carry extras. And I had one last gel and finished the last of my electrolytes and drank some water and just said, you know what? I've got less than 10 miles to go. I am going to do this. I think I had less than 5 miles to go at that point. In any event, I'm glad I finished it. And I will say that this was an absolutely spectacular route, notwithstanding the weather. There are, I think, 2 more 70-mile long rides in my training plan, because at some point I run out of the training plan and start back up again. And so I will get to do this route hopefully 2 more times, hopefully when it's a little bit warmer and a little bit less windy. This is that last gel break that I was talking about, and I am almost back to Teresa's house, and just had nothing left, but I pushed myself and I finished, and so I'll call it a success. I did it. Much better luck than last week, and that was a fantastic route. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, stay safe out there.